Do we have the same idea, Kay?
Well, what's the idea?
I saw you on the vendor doc.
Oh, you did?
Uh,
Cause I didn't know if anybody. Hold on one second. Let me add
no,
my.
right. I'm about to switch out into my account.
Me too.
Wait, but this needs to, oh, okay.
Progress.
Okay, bam. Now I'll be back.
All right.
Mute both of your accounts, Kay. I'm back. You look cute, Kay. Hey, y'all. Lo, Myra. What's crack-a-lackin'?
Hey y'all.
Ooh, it's a party. Hey, y'all. Hey, hey, hey. We'll get started in a few minutes. Let everybody trickle on in. Dang, we need some music.
That's literally what I was trying to do. I was trying to log into our Spotify. Can you hear that?
Yes. Well, I did.
Can you hear it now?
My druggie and druggie, we just some kids out of luck. Ooh, they ain't tryna see me shine. My shine, a bullet on my time. Fuck it, I'll live forever now. They ain't tryna see me shine. Bullet on my time. But fuck it, I'll live forever. They ain't tryna see us shine. Bullet on our time. But fuck it, we'll live forever. Forever in a day, follow in the fame. You know that we live forever. How long will it take to my feet? The sunset's your feet ain't good yet forever. I saw my name for 7 bags of Skittles on Sunny said Bolivar. He said he got his rainbow pretty mystery and fully charged. Nobody understands my songs. I love every sentences to heal the scar. The rental card and I look in the Shangri-La. Ooh, my cigarette burning. My mama be calling. She worry about me, a girl alcoholic. And I could take a trip to LA. And I could lose myself inside myself. I hope the Lord forgive me now. Why I still be thrifting, accustomed to wearing hand-me-downs? Who I'm a Cinderella, a cinder block for my family now. I can't build no mansion on top of these shaggy bones. I left my home, I'm on the road.
Hey y'all, sorry, I have so many things up on my screen, so so many tabs open on my computer, so I was trying to find the right tab to pause it. But yeah, so welcome everyone. My name is Kay. I'm the lead organizer over at Spark, and my pronouns are she, they. I forgot for a second. Let's see. Asha, I totally forgot to come up with an icebreaker question. Do you have any?
Perfect. Always. So, hello, y'all. I'm going to save you from this Keisha Cole bonnet right now.
Yeah, we want to see it.
The same one I got on all the time. Yep. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry.
But one of my favorite icebreakers is something that you had recently that you were slightly disappointed in. So hey, my name's Asha. My pronouns are she, hers. Something that I had recently that was mildly disappointing, thank you, was my coffee. I had coffee this morning and I used a different brand of oat milk and it just didn't do right by me. But that's it for me. And then I'm going to pass it. And because I see Nicole's camera on, are you ready to receive?
Hi, I'm Nicole, she, hers. I don't know, that question. I don't think I'm ready. I need to think about that.
It's okay. You can just drop it in the chat when you think about it, but
Okay.
we can popcorn it to somebody else.
Okay. How about Elias?
Hi. Sorry, I just got here. What is the question? Okay. My name is Elias. My pronouns are he, him. I'm calling from Buffalo, New York. I am the incoming If, When, How Reproductive Justice Fellow for Spark Reproductive Justice. So I'm really excited. And something I was recently mildly disappointed by. I don't know. Oh, earlier I went to make myself a bowl of cereal and we didn't have enough for a whole bowl. I only had enough for like half a bowl, so that was kind of mildly disappointing. And then I popcorned to someone else. Okay. Who hasn't gone?
Only 2 people went, me and Nicole.
Oh, okay.
Wait, Kay, you went?
Yeah, but I didn't do the mildly disappointing thing.
Yeah, I'm like, I would miss that.
Okay, I'll go. I'll
Okay.
do a mildly disappointing thing. Again, my name is Kay. My pronouns are she, they, and something mildly disappointing that I had. I got like this pizza dough from Trader Joe's. It was like pre-made and it came out good, but like I was trying to be extra and do like a stuffed crust dough, and it didn't come out that good. I don't even think it was cooked all the way on that part, but everything else is good. But that's my mild disappointment for the week. I'll pass it to Aaron.
Hey y'all, my name is Erin. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the communications manager at Spark. I don't know something that was mildly disappointing lately. I really can't think about it, but I'll put it in the chat. Maybe it's a good thing that I can't think about something disappointing. I'll pass it to Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin. My pronouns are she, her. Something I've been recently mildly disappointed by. My job. I'll say that. And I'm going to pass it to, let's see, Alexis.
Hello. My name is Alexis Mitchell. She, her, hers. Mild disappointment. I was supposed to go on a road trip this weekend for the long weekend with a friend who just told me yesterday that they've decided to go on a different trip. Which like it wasn't that big of a deal, but I was kind of looking forward to it. So and I'll pass to Carter.
Hey everyone, my name is Carter. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the operations coordinator with Spark. And something I was recently disappointed with, Uber Eats. In my neighborhood, like after 9 o'clock, all the restaurants either close or like every time you order something, the order gets canceled or they bring the wrong thing. I was really hungry last night and I ordered Taco Bell. And not only did they bring me the completely wrong order, it was like ice cold and soggy. So that was pretty disappointing. But I recovered and I ate those soggy tacos anyway. But I will popcorn it to 20.
I
All
think
right, can y'all hear me?
yes.
Okay, cool. All right, I guess my mild disappointment is that I can't cook. Sometimes I can, but most of the time I can't. And then I try stuff and I'll be excited and then I'll fail. It's like, why did I even try in the first place? So yeah, so that's a mild disappointment of mine. Popcorn it. I will popcorn it to Trinity.
Hello, can you see me? Okay.
Yeah, we see you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Trinity. I live in Atlanta. My pronouns are she, her. And something that I was mildly disappointed with recently was like I'm a big French toast stick fan. Like I love like the French toast sticks. And like Wendy's just got some in. So like I was like really, really excited about going to get some today. And I got them, and like they just were not crispy enough. They just were not fluffy enough. Like there has to be a nice balance. It just wasn't there. The syrup just wasn't doing it for me. So it was like, yeah, it was kind of disappointing, you know. So love Wendy's, but just didn't love
I
that.
didn't know Wendy's did French toast. I didn't know they did breakfast.
Yeah, they've been now they breakfast slaps, it's no shade. But the French toast sticks, they just brought those in like maybe like a week or so ago, maybe longer, I don't know, but yeah, it was disappointing. So I will popcorn it to Faith. Faith.
Faith did drop theirs in the chat.
Okay.
They said she, they, policy assistant for URGE and the incoming California state organizer. And something that was mildly disappointing was very similar to mine. It was her coffee.
So do I need to pick someone else?
Sure.
Okay. How about Coco?
Oh, hi. I'm sorry about that. Hi, I'm Coco. I'm from Atlanta. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. And something that I wouldn't even say it's a mild disappointment. It was a major disappointment. I recently moved out of of a shelter here in Atlanta, and they took away my sage because apparently it was contraband, air quotation marks. And they took it away. And when they took it away, they were like, you'll get it back, blah, blah, blah. We put it up. Then the day that I leave, I asked for it back. They can't find it. And I did spaz. I spazzed the fuck out because that was for me and my religious purposes and stuff, and they threw it away. I'm going to popcorn it to Myra.
Hey, my name is Myra. My pronouns are her, she/her. Um, something. I had went to go get ices the other day, and I seen an old lady across the street was laying there, and then I got back in the car and I found out my dog had ate my icy, and I had to go back and buy another one. I'm gonna popcorn it to Rihanna.
Hey y'all, my name is Rihanna. I live in Atlanta. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Something that disappointed me this week was my goddaughter Myra, who just spoke, tried to make collard greens, and I don't know why I let her do that, and it came out disgusting. So I'm gonna popcorn it to Elisa McHenry. Eliza. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. I apologize.
It's Alyssa. And
Well,
I
I'm
was just about.
to you, Alyssa.
It's okay, cool. I was just about to put mine in chat. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and a mild disappointment was I'm a big fan of Wendy's, and I love their Asiago Ranch chicken club, and I got Uber Eats to bring me one, deliver one to my house late at night. It's like I love getting Uber Eats to deliver me food, and that's one of my late night snacks that I like to treat myself to. And it just didn't blow my skirt up. It was dry. The bacon wasn't fresh. The chicken wasn't, I just didn't feel like the chicken was done all right. It just was not good. And it was just, I don't know if it was a mild disappointment, it was a major disappointment. It was just not good. So that's what happened to me. And I am going to popcorn it to Is it Kamara?
Kamaria. Kamaria.
Sorry.
Hi. I'm Kamaria. My pronouns are she, hers. I'm currently in Atlanta. And my mild disappointment, I think last week, I like had this meal planned out and I was gonna make some cornbread. And then I forgot that I didn't have any eggs, even though I had just gone to the store. So I had to make it without eggs. And it's a mild disappointment because it wasn't bad, but it wasn't necessarily that great either. Okay, then I'm gonna pass it to Lo.
Hey y'all, my name is Lo. I use she, her pronouns. I'm calling from Portland, Oregon. What else were we supposed to say? I haven't been disappointed by anything recently. So I'll just leave that there. And has anyone not gone?
I haven't gone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'll go. My name's Kyla. My pronouns are she, her. My mild disappointment is that I randomly had a day off today and I had a really nice to-do list and I haven't really done, I've done some of it. Not as much as I hoped. And I'll popcorn it to, who else was talking? Was it Alex?
Yeah, that was me. Thanks. Hey y'all, I'm Alex. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the policy fellow at Spark. Mine is also food related. I was at a conference in Dallas this weekend and I went to this taco spot and I got these shrimp tacos that were amazing. So I went back the next day and then I got the brisket tacos and they were just medium. So that was a mild disappointment for me. And has anyone else not gone?
I haven't gone. Hey y'all, my name is Nandi. Alex, I was in Dallas too. And I got tacos from someplace close to my hotel, and all of them were good except for, okay, so I actually ordered 3 different tacos. I ordered a shrimp taco, a salmon taco, and a chicken taco. The chicken taco was amazing. The salmon taco was god awful, and they didn't even give me the shrimp taco. And so that really sucked because I was really looking forward to it. This was like I was kind of sad this day because I think I was missing my kids, and I'm team FTK. If y'all know what that is, y'all get it. But I was missing my kids, y'all, and I needed like a comfort meal. And so I ordered these tacos for my comfort meal. Like, okay, I'm gonna, get myself back together to head back into the conference. And I didn't get all the tacos, but the ones that I got made up for the ones that didn't come. So that kind of, made it a little bit better. And I'll pass it to 1 second. Akbar, are you going?
Yeah, but I'll kick it over to Seisha because I see your hand's been up for a little while.
Hey y'all, I'm Seisha. Pronouns she, her, queen. I'm in Philly. And my mild disappointment is that I went grocery shopping yesterday and the inflation done hit Aldi, y'all. I'm just like, why are groceries so much? Has it been that long since I've been grocery shopping? And Aldi is supposed to be like less than, I don't know, everywhere else. And it did not feel that way. So I'm just going to kick it back over to Agbo.
All right, hey y'all, my name is Agbo. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the policy and advocacy director with Spark. My mild disappointment is also food related. I went to this Caribbean spot yesterday, like small hole in the wall, but had like really great reviews. So I thought it was about to be like amazing. And I got it and it just wasn't, it was bad. I got the jerk chicken there and it was dry and just it wasn't good at all. And I will pass it to Jasmine.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jasmine. My pronouns are they, them. And my mild disappointment, I randomly got a keloid by my nose piercing, even though I've had this piercing for a while now. So I had to take out the jewelry and I'm just worried that it's gonna close because I've pierced. So both of my nostrils are pierced, and I've pierced one side 3 times and the other side 2 times. So I'm like, I don't want to go down this road again. I don't know if I might be the last person. If I'm not, can you just shout out?
Go. Do you know how you get rid of that keloid? You need to get you some BC powder and some contact solution and make a paste and put that on that keloid every night and it'll go away.
Thank you.
I had the same problem.
I can go. I am Cassie Jones McBride. I'm from Detroit. I too was at the conference this past weekend, and mine is also food related. And I really wanted to have some real authentic Texas, good eats. And so I didn't get any of that until the last day. And I stayed an extra day because I didn't feel like rushing out on Sunday because I wanted to stay for the late activities. And I ordered from a place called Turkey Palace, and it was magnificent. And I was disappointed that I hadn't found them earlier in my travels, but that was my disappointment.
Hey, I haven't gone. My name is Ayola. My pronouns are she, her. I am calling from Atlanta. And something that was mildly disappointing to me, it's kind of been happening all week, but every time I get on the highway, it's just a lot more traffic than I really expect at the hours that I drive. So every commute's been like doubled unexpectedly. So that's been a little disappointing.
Is that everyone? If not, well, if folks they don't have to go. You can just add your name, pronouns, and where you're from in the chat, and we can continue unless someone else really wants to introduce themselves. Okay. Cool. So thanks for coming out, everyone. Today we're gonna have some cool things going on today. Just a quick map out of the agenda. We're gonna be doing a administrative advocacy like training conversation led by Agbo and Alex. And then later on in the day, we're also going to be doing a racial justice and reproductive justice conversation as well. Also wanted to add, if you all look in the chat, there's a conversation that Carter had sparked around like the Uber Eats voucher. So tonight, dinner's on us, and there's a limited amount. So if you can, just not send it out to folks just within this space. It's really for us because there's limited. But make sure you try to claim your voucher because I think they're a limited amount. But yeah, we're also going to have like a break in between so folks can like grab dinner and like eat and whatnot, and then we'll hop back on. But before I pass it off to Agbo and Alex, I also wanted to introduce, well, they already introduced themselves, but I also wanted to acknowledge that we have our new Light Fellow in the room, Trinity. You don't have to speak or anything, but they already, introduced themselves, but hey, there they go. They're amazing, and I can't wait to like do all the amazing work that we're going to be doing within the next 3 months. And yeah, that's really it. But I just really wanted Trinity to come into the space and just meet folks, see the space, meet some of our staff like Agbo, Carter, Aaron, Alex, Elias. So yeah, these are our people. But yeah, I'll definitely pass it over to Agbo and Alex. Do y'all need anything from me right now? Oh, also wanted to uplift. Sorry, Agbo. One more thing. Wanted to was that Trinity? Did you want to say something? You came
No,
on.
I was just saying hi to everyone and everything.
Okay. So yeah. Also, we are going to. There's a sign-in sheet that I should drop in the chat. If folks can, just go ahead and fill that out. That would be awesome. We would really, really, really appreciate it. So yeah, when you have time, just go ahead and fill that sheet out. I'm sure it's like super quick. Asha's usually, straight to the point, so I doubt the form is lengthy at all. But yeah, I'll pass it off to Agbo now. Do y'all need anything from me right now?
No, as long as I'm able to share my screen, I'm good.
Okay, I just made you a co-host, so you should be able to right now.
Can folks see that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Before I kick it over to Alex, just welcome to our administrative advocacy training. I know the name's not like sexy or anything like that, but I promise it's very, very interesting and a very easy way to get into advocacy or just do an action just at home. So I hope y'all will learn a lot from this and leave this space feeling a bit more equipped to just do some advocacy work. I am going to be controlling the slideshows. I'm also here if folks have like questions or anything like that. But yeah, Alex, if you're ready, can kick it off to you.
Awesome, let's do it. Hey everyone, I'm Alex, they them pronouns. I'm the policy fellow at Spark for the next one day before I kick it off to Elias. So everyone say welcome. And then also welcome to Trinity. Big day for new staff. Yeah, all right, so we're gonna talk about administrative advocacy and then y'all are gonna have a chance if you'd like to submit a public comment on the new Title IX regulations. And this doesn't have to be anything like major. It can be a few sentences, it can be a few paragraphs, it can be whatever you're feeling. Yeah. Can I get the next slide? Awesome. Yeah, so we're just basically gonna go through like general definitions on like what is administrative advocacy, how is this different from the kind of traditional legislative advocacy that you've probably seen us do and been involved in through us. And then I'm gonna go over like how this applies federally, because that's what we're gonna be doing today. And what Title IX is and what these new regulations are, and then just the process for how to write and submit a comment. Okay, so what is administrative advocacy other than something that is super sexy and I will talk your ear off about at a party? So it's kind of like the second part to legislative advocacy, which is kind of like when you're trying to influence like which laws do pass and like what the laws say, like when you're working with legislators, that's like legislative advocacy. Administrative advocacy is like basically, well, they take the language of the law, which is usually like not very long, like it's a few pages, a few sentences, whatever. And the administration, like the people who implement the laws, will kind of fill in the gaps and implement it and enforce them. They get to kind of like fill in any ambiguities. So they do actually have like a lot of political power. And if you can influence those people, those decision makers, then you can influence either like how beneficial a good law is or how harmful a bad law is. So like to give you an example, we have a campaign right now where we're trying to like take away state funding for so-called crisis pregnancy centers and divert that to legitimate healthcare. So if we were going to do administrative advocacy within that campaign, it would be trying to influence the employees at the Department of Public Health who have control of our state funding for CPCs and get them to kind of like change the requirements for who can get the funding and like change the actual way that the grant program is administered. Whereas legislative advocacy would be trying to get the grant program repealed and get the funding funneled into something else. It also could involve like for certain laws that are on the books, like they just don't get enforced, or they do get enforced. So you can kind of like talk to the decision makers and get them to like actually enforce good laws that we have on the books or stop enforcing bad laws that we have on the books. And opportunities for administrative advocacy, they exist like at the state level, at the local level, and then also at the federal level, which is what we're going to be talking about mostly today. Okay, so this table kind of outlines the difference between legislative and administrative advocacy in a little bit more detail. As you can see, administrative advocacy is kind of like a continuation of an expansion of legislative advocacy. And oftentimes like the strategies that we use to do this are similar. They're like, you know, writing emails, writing letters, going to committee hearings. You're just talking to a different audience and you're asking for them to do a different thing. So administrative advocacy also has the benefit of being like the audience is less partisan, because a lot of the people that work at like, you know, the Department of Public Health or whatever, like they're not politically appointed or they're not elected. They're just kind of like career people who know a lot about public health. So they're like a little bit easier to convince of things when you're coming in from a public health lens. And they just tend to be more interested in the merits of an argument than like whatever like the GOP party line is on things. And this is like especially important in a state like Georgia, because I mean, we have a conservative majority in both houses, so we're going to have bad laws passed. And so if we can get in on the back end and get things to be less harmful in implementation, that's always going to be a benefit. Can I get the next slide, please? Okay, great. So why is this important? I mean, it's impactful in our lives, so it's important. But whenever you're dealing with harmful legislation, this allows you to impact the way the law is actually executed on the ground, so you can minimize its negative impact on people. And when you're working with a negative law, you want to identify which area of the text of the legislation where there's wiggle room or wherever there's like ambiguities that you know that the administration is going to have to fill in. And then you figure out who that person who's making the decision is, and you try to press them in your direction or try to press them to do the least bad that they can do. When it's legislation that has the potential to make a positive impact, administrative advocacy allows you to kind of make sure that its positive impact isn't blunted in its execution. That means making sure that like relevant communities are included, because like oftentimes the decision makers are not from those communities. So you want to make sure that they're hearing voices from people who are actually going to benefit from a good law. An example of this, like in reproductive healthcare, would be like a lot of times like the people who are just like not educated on trans issues, so they might just use like gender essentialist language or like not include trans and gender expansive folks. So if you just like are someone in the room being like, hey, this population exists and you should include them in your work, like it's not even like that difficult of a sell, because like they maybe just didn't think of it, and then they can just change the language and then our laws can be more inclusive. And something else that's like really cool about administrative advocacy, if you work at a nonprofit or a 501c3 nonprofit specifically, is that it doesn't count against your lobbying limit. So you can do as much of it as you want without, you know, fear of like getting audited and shut down, which is really great.
Oh, and Alex, before you go on, I saw that we got a question in the chat around the PowerPoint being shared. I think so, yes. I believe there's like a base member like resource folder that we use on and off. Asha, I'll connect with you as far as like getting that shared out to everyone. And then we can put this in there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so what we're doing today is we're looking at like a federal regulation, and we're gonna try to like impact the people who are putting it into effect. So what does this what does administrative advocacy look like at the federal level is, so basically, if you remember from civics class, we have 3 branches in our government. We have like the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. but like our government has gotten so big and covers so many people that government functions have just gotten so complicated over time that the executive and legislative branch have started delegating some of their responsibilities to this kind of like invisible fourth branch of government called the administrative branch. And so this includes kind of like all of the like alphabet soup of agencies like CDC, like Department of Ed, DOJ, like if it's an acronym, it's probably in the administrative state. So for the majority of these agencies, the acting president gets to like appoint the head, but then most of the other employees there are like career folks there, or if you're not like in leadership, you're career folks. And those tend to be like less partisan. You get those like experts in the field kind of people. And so once you get past, you know, the head of the agency who you probably can't budge on partisan issues, you get to the people who are a little bit more reasonable. Next slide, please. Okay, so what do federal agencies do? Basically Congress is empowered to like make laws under the Constitution, but they're not actually the ones who are responsible for seeing those laws through to execution. So to give y'all like an example, if Congress passes a law requiring power plants to use like the most effective technology available, it's not like your senators who are like, I know what that technology is, and I'm going to tell you exactly which ones you need to use so that you can comply with this law. And like it's the people who like know about it, like experts in the field who like set those standards and make sure that it's being enforced on like on the ground. And like if you've ever been in a committee hearing and like specifically in Georgia, like talking about either trans issues or repro stuff, like you're probably like deeply frustratingly aware that like our legislators are like don't know anything about these things. So having people who are actually knowledgeable about these things is a good thing. And also like just from a timing perspective, like legislators just don't have that many hours in a day to like actually go like follow their laws through to enforcement. I mean, this is a problem also because then legislators kind of like don't have the consequences of the terrible laws that they pass. They just get to like, you know, vote and see it happen. But yeah, that's the system that we got. That's what we're working with. Anyway, so but having subject matter experts is especially important when we have agencies that deal with technical and like precise subject matter. And when I think about anything in the environment space, like we definitely need scientists doing that and not, you know, random dudes from Georgia. All right. So when an agency proposes new rules, they get published in the Federal Register. And when they're published, they have either a 30-day or 60-day comment period where members of the public and different interest groups can kind of like look over the proposed rules and like submit their comments on them. And then the agencies are usually statutorily obligated to either respond to them or look over them, or like there's certain kind of like compliance requirements for them to deal with different things that are coming in from the public. So basically whenever you leave a comment, you can like say, I support a rule, I'm opposed to a rule, like give kind of like different comments on how you can improve it. Or if it's something that's really bad, you can mobilize a campaign of like hundreds of people to just spam them with comments. So it slows down the entire process. During the Trump administration, this was like something that we did a lot because it was like, that's horrible. They're not going to make it any better. Let's just spam them and gum up the works kind of. Because we kind of just knew there was like no way that the Trump administration was going to take constructive criticism from any kind of left-leaning group, or I guess where Spark is a 501c3 nonpartisan organization, but anything that was like either pro-trans or pro-reproductive justice, like that wasn't going to happen with the Trump administration. So we were just kind of get in their way as much as possible. When it's a more like friendly or administration, like the Biden administration, like you kind of want to do like a compliment sandwich, just kind of like, hey, we're really glad that you're making this better. Y'all don't really get it. Here's some comments for improvement. But like, thank you for trying, kind of a thing with a lot of stuff. If y'all want to see an example of a proposed rule that is from 2021, I'm about to drop the link in the chat. Yeah. This is the Title X regulations that came out in 2021. Title X is basically a federal reproductive health care program, and it distributes federal grant money to healthcare providers, and it sets different guidelines for what you need to do in order to qualify to get the money. So this was like the Biden administration's version was a huge improvement from the Trump administration's version. So we were like extremely happy to see this rule come out. So if you click on that link and then you look to the left of the screen, there should be a speech bubble option, and that's where you can click and you can see all the different public comments that people have left on it. The Federal Register website is a little bit terrible. So if the search function worked, you might be able to search and find Spark's comment, but you probably won't be able to. Obviously the comment period for this is closed. It's already like gone through everything. So you can't leave a new comment, but you can just kind of like see examples of like, this is what people have said in the past. This is like kind of like how the process works. And then after or during the notice and comment period, agencies might also hold hearings where they would invite people to testify. People can also just like be in the room to show support or opposition. Okay, so now we're going to pivot to the rule that we're focusing on today, which is the Biden administration's Department of Education new Title IX regulations. Y'all have probably heard of Title IX at other points just in your life. But for a little background, it was originally passed in 1972 as part of the Education Amendments, and it prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in educational programs that receive federal funding. The law itself, like the actual text of the law, is extremely brief. It's like 37 words or something like that. But over the past like 50 years, there's been regulations, litigation, like different kinds of enforcement things going on to the point where like the body of law, like the things that you actually have to follow to comply with Title IX is enormous. So this is like in the course of that like litigation and expansion of the law, it's been interpreted to cover like participation and funding in sports and other activities, dealing with sexual harassment and violence in educational environments. And most recently after the Bostock case, which was I think 3 or 4 years ago now, protection for queer and trans students and staff. So that's the backdrop of what we're working with. And then now we're going to jump into the actual new regulations that just came out about a month ago. Okay, I'm gonna drop in the chat the link to the actual new regulations. So in contrast to the 37-word law that gave rise to these regulations, these are 190 pages, so I'm not expecting y'all to read that because Control F is your friend, and I can just give you an overview because nobody wants to read 190 pages of very boring administrative language. So this slide is kind of like what they changed from 100 feet away. I also want to flag, like having dropped the link, that if you do choose to browse the existing comments, you're going to see like just some really ignorant, transphobic, and homophobic stuff. I would recommend that you don't. You know, in masochistic fashion, like read through them a bunch when I was like starting Spark's comment, and it just like really got me down. Just, you know, take care of yourself. Don't look at things that are going to be hurtful. You know, it's a lot of people who are just like confused about things and want to just air their homophobic and transphobic viewpoints online, which is nothing new. But anyway, so it's completely possible to write your comment and to like be fully informed on the issue without looking at that bullshit. So to get into the kind of like substance of the new regulation, the major change that we focus on in our comment and that like is relevant to kind of like Spark's mission is that they explicitly recognize that discrimination on the basis of sex includes discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, sex stereotypes, and gender identity, which is new from pre-Bostock, which was that case I talked about earlier. This is really, I mean, I think it's really great. It's getting a lot of pushback from conservative groups. And then something also to note is that it like specifically says like trans and gender expansive students should be allowed to participate in like sex segregated activities, like consistent with their gender identity or whichever one they would like to do. But they specifically say like, we're gonna deal with sex segregated sports in like a different, more detailed regulation that's gonna be coming out sometime in the next year. So while you're welcome to write about like sports and other kind of like athletic activities, when you write your comment, just know like this isn't the regulation that's like outlining exactly how schools should handle that. And that's like gonna be a fight down the line, I'm sure of it. So other than that, feel free to talk about any of the things on this chart. It provides like additional protections for students who are pregnant or parenting, including like provisions for parents that are either like breast or chest feeding or just like dealing with lactation generally. It requires schools to investigate student-on-student harassment that occur outside of school, which is new. And it also just expands the definition of sexual harassment to be more survivor friendly, which is, I think is great. But honestly, you would be surprised. A lot of groups are taking the kind of like pro perpetrator stance on this, which is nuts. I mean, we could get into that in more detail if y'all want, but so some people just like want to be the opposite of the liberals at anything, even it means being like pro sexual assailant. Yes, and we can bring this slide back up for whenever y'all are writing, but I want to just get into like instructions on how to actually submit a comment. Okay, so the chart that I sent y'all is, or the chart on the last slide was less detailed, but if y'all are looking at, if y'all want to see some like more detailed breakdown that goes into the different sections, the chart that I just dropped into the chat might be a useful resource. It's also just kind of interesting. So yeah, when you go to write your comment, this can be, you know, a few sentences. It can be like, this is who I am, this is what I believe, like, thank you for your time kind of a thing. Or up to a few pages. Like I know like a lot of organizations will do like 20-page documents. I'm not asking y'all to write 20 pages, but it can be as much engagement as you'd like it to be. And if you feel comfortable, I would encourage you to write from personal experience, because especially when it comes to like sexual orientation and gender identity stuff, a lot of people just like, it's not humanized to them because that's not part of their daily life. So just knowing like this impacts actual human beings is something that they want to hear, or not that they want to hear, but they need to hear, that they need to hear if they're going to be the people who are regulating our lives. The only thing that we ask you to do, and like, I mean, if you don't want to do it, that's fine too. But my big ask for this would be that y'all like explicitly say, we support, or I support the inclusion of sexual orientation and gender identity under the definition of sex discrimination, or under Title IX protections for anti-discrimination, because that's the change that's been getting the most pushback, and that's the one that we most like really want to see go through. All right, so I had put this link in the chat, but I'll send it one more time. If you go to the page of the actual regulations, and then click on the little bubble that says submit a formal comment, it should be in the top right corner. It'll take you to the form that you need to write the comments. And let me know if there's y'all have any issues with that, because like I said, the Federal Register website is extremely hit or miss. So yeah, it should be like a big green bar in the top right corner. And it should bring you to the form, which you write your comment in the box, or if you feel more comfortable drafting it in like Google Doc or like Microsoft Word or something, like you can do that, download it as a PDF and then attach it. And then in that box, say something like comment attached below. And then whenever you go to fill out your contact information, sorry. yeah, you can just, whatever you identify, if you want to identify as like a member of Spark, if you want to identify as like a student or a teacher, whatever just makes sense for you. Feel free to identify however, and then whenever you're ready, hit submit. And then, but we're gonna go over a little bit of formatting stuff, or like formatting suggestions for how to write an effective comment. And then we're gonna give y'all a break to order food and write your comments if you want to, or just think on what you want to say.
Shout out to Alex for finding this link, just side note, because it's not easy.
Okay, so my recommendations is just to like start out with like introducing like who you are and why, like what I guess like why you care about this or why this matters to you. But I would, you know, just from like a cybersecurity point of view, like make sure you're not like being like, I'm a like undergraduate sociology student from GSU. Like that's more of a risk than being like, I am a student, or I am a student from Georgia. Like make sure like you aren't giving people like too much information, because it is posted publicly. And I mean, not that a lot of people are going through the Federal Register, but just, you know, in the age of internet safety, you need to just be making the like risk assessments that we need to be made about our personal information. So then within your introduction, once you introduce yourself, just put in your top line messaging. You know, something like, I strongly support the Department of Education's inclusion of sexual orientation and gender identity in the proposed regulation, or whatever other top line messaging you think is most important. Just like as succinct as you can be, this is what I'm going to be talking about in my comment. Then if you want to go over multiple issues and elaborate more, separate them into like little paragraphs, each with like a sentence being like, I support the department's decision to like include pregnant and parenting students under the regulations, or whatever about it like matters to you and that you feel compelled to speak on. Just make sure your messaging is extremely clear and your point of view is extremely clear, because at the end of the day, the goal of this is to like make the reader feel smart. Like you want to make them feel like they read your comment, they knew exactly what you wanted to, like what you were saying. And they like can walk away like to explain it to somebody else. Like you're not trying to flex like I'm the smartest one in the room right now. Like you're just trying to make this person see very clearly and feel empowered and smart in understanding your point of view. And so like in that vein, when you close out, I would just include a statement that like sums it up once again. Like this is this is why I'm writing this comment. This is what I believe. Like thank you sincerely, like your name. Yeah, I feel like always just empowering your reader to know exactly what you're saying. Like don't leave them with any kind of doubts about like what you support and what you don't support, because at the end of the day, you want them to know that there is like support in force for the various parts of the regulation, and especially the inclusion of queer and trans students under the Title IX protections. So yeah, and then I wanted to open up for questions. I know this is a lot of information.
And I can stop sharing the screen if that helps.
Excuse me, Agba, if you don't mind. Only 19 of y'all filled out the sign-in sheet. I'm dropping the link again. Please and thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I think since it's my first time hearing about like administrative advocacy, I'm gonna have to like review the slides on my own time so I can like my brain can like process what's happening and like what I like so I just need a little bit of time. I'm neurodivergent. I just need a little bit of time to like grasp everything. So the slides are super helpful and informative. I just have to like, I don't know. I just need to sit with the information some more and go through like what my role is, like how I can support. So once I have access to the slides, I'll feel more confident in like my takeaways.
Yeah, absolutely. We can get the permissions all fixed and get it in the base member folder as soon as we can.
Alex, do you have like an approximation as far as like how long, like after they review all of the like comments, do they have to, I guess, make a final decision on the regulation?
I don't think there's like any like hard and fast date. It's a federal government, so it tends to move like just frustratingly slow. I would say several months is like probably like a safe estimate. I wouldn't be like holding my breath for it, but they will eventually like publish a final rule whenever they do like go through all of the like procedural requirements. And then they'll probably get sued, honestly. But you know, that's federal policy.
To be honest, I was a little distracted with ordering because my payment was like it was a little over the 25. But anyway, the question I was really interested in getting answered was what's the difference between administrative and legislative advocacy? I may have missed that.
Wait, I'm sorry. I think my internet dropped for a second. What was that second part of that?
What's the difference between administrative and legislative advocacy?
Yeah, absolutely. So legislative advocacy is when you're trying to get like a law passed or you're trying to block a law that's bad, like before it actually gets passed, like through like the senators and the state reps. Whereas administrative advocacy is when you're dealing with laws that we already have on the books and you're trying to influence the way that they get enforced and the way that they get implemented, so that they can either be like as beneficial as they can be or as least harmful as they can be if it's a bad law. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I remember you saying that now, I just didn't fully sink in, I guess.
No, you're good. I know it was like a ton of information all at once. I just get so excited about the administrative state.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all, for filling out the form. I appreciate that.
Any other questions? And also as an offering, if you, if you take some time, review the presentation, think about what you want to say, if you draft a comment, I'm also down to like assist with like just looking it over or editing if need be. Just shoot me an email and I can do that.
Does anyone like want to brainstorm a little bit now, or like do you have any ideas of what you might say about we're messaging them about Title IX, right? So like and being more gender inclusive.
Yeah, so basically our ask for y'all is regardless of what else you want to say in your comment, to just express support for the inclusion of gender identity and sexual orientation under the Title IX anti-discrimination protections, because before this it was just protecting specifically like kind of like sex assigned at birth. Whereas now they're kind of expanding it to cover a lot of different other things that fall under like sexual harassment, sexual discrimination.
Yeah, I was wondering if people had ideas already about what they were gonna say.
I just put it in the chat, Nicole, but I was gonna lift up what Alex is saying. Make sure I include that in my paragraph, in my statement. And then I was gonna lift up, I saw one of the proposals for Title IX was like support and resources for pregnant or parenting folks in school. So I'm a mom. I wasn't a teen mom, but I'm a mom, and I realized how I've had like one of my close friends was a teen mom. She had her baby when we were like 16, 15, 16. So anyhow, I was just gonna lift up like how that would be beneficial to have like some support for parenting folks in high school. And then the sexual harassment piece, I think that was like the last bulleted point. I was going to find some language to like lift that up as well. So those are the 3 bullets I was going to focus on: the inclusive language, or the inclusion of what Alex said, the whole statement. And I'm sure I can find it when I go over the PowerPoint again with the statement Alex just made. And then the second to last bullet and the last bullet. Those are the 3 bullets I was going to focus my statements on, or my statement on. Does that help you, Nicole?
Yes, thank you, Nandy.
It's pronounced Nandi. You're welcome.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nandi.
No worries.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Does anyone think they're gonna mention anything about sports? That's what I kind of think of when I think of Title IX sports and like sexual assault.
So you're absolutely welcome to mention sports. It's been obviously like all over the news recently, especially with all the stuff going on in Georgia. But they did say that they're going to release like detailed guidelines on sports in a different set of regulations. So what you can say for that is something along the lines of something like I'm anticipating, or like I look forward to reading the regulations about sports, and I support like inclusion of trans athletes and gender expensive athletes in sex segregated programs that align with their gender identity.
I'm not sure if this kind of like fits with Title IX and everything, but is there any space for like helping or communicating issues that might be affecting people with disabilities, whether physical or mental, in this aspect? Or is that kind of another, kind of like in the same way sports has its own, is that something separate too?
To my knowledge, I think that anti-discrimination for disabilities is housed under a different law, but it's also dealt with by the Department of Education. So if you want to include that in your comment, you're like welcome to, because it is the same people that are making the rules about it. It's just not specifically covered by this law that we're dealing with.
Thank you.
I also had another question for the group. Does anything about this make you nervous? Like writing a comment? I have my own things that make me nervous, but I just want to ask first if people wanted to share.
It's totally normal to feel nervous before doing some sort of advocacy, especially if you haven't done it before. So don't feel off if that's how you might feel. That's definitely a normal thing.
Thank you.
I'll say that I don't think there's any like wrong way to do this, as long as you're like pretty clear that you support this regulation. And I think, as Alex stated, like we don't want to like, you know, cuss them out or anything, not in this particular instance, then you're good.
And I just want to reiterate, like it can be 3 sentences long if you want it to be. Like if you like browse through other people's comments, some of them are like huge documents, and then some of them are like just a dude running his mouth for like an unpunctuated paragraph. So there is really no wrong way to do it.
All right, Kay or Asha, I think we're good for this section if we want to go on break.
Okay, great. Everyone, we're gonna go on break. Yeah, I'm gonna play some music. We'll be back in about 15 minutes. I think that sounds good. Yeah, and then we'll come back and talk about, have a conversation around racial justice and reproductive justice. Sounds good.
Okie dokie. See y'all
Alright,
soon.
see y'all soon.
Casting new gospel, occupational sin. Just walked out the church house with happy all in my pocket, a little something to spend. They ain't trying to see me shine, shine. Bullet on my time, but fuck it, I'll live forever. They ain't trying to see us shine, shine. Bullet on our time, but fuck it, we'll live forever. Forever in the day, follow in the rain. You know that we live forever. How long will it take to not read the sunsets you beating? Let's get forever.
Let me tell you something, yeah. Y'all that can wine. People, you know it's superstar Johnny, UK dancer general. And right now, we're going to introduce a song. We are going to take over the world. Please, we are going to run the dance floor. FKA Twigs, Shy Girl, play this song. Sing this song, yeah. Let me tell you something. Y'all that can wine, or y'all that can dance. And I'm just meaning like, she just lets herself be free and so expressive and just don't give a fuck. Oh, there's nothing more sexy than that.
True safe, I've never realized that can be some energy. Where's the grind up on in your area? Let's start it again. Boom, boom, because when you can't find a white club, everybody wants to send up for my love. Sticky sweet, I'm on the beat like a killer. A killer. Don't stop, happy, don't stop, switch it up and don't stop, going like a fire,
Don't grab gripping on my body. You can hold it. Never stop. I am in my body.
You're controlling it.
Just a little more. Back to the morning. Happy got it in it. Check this is right. Tell me where I can reach your body.
Some energy. Some energy. Don't stop, happy, don't stop, switch it up and don't
Jamaica, England. Stop that track if you wanna tap that. Real steady in fact. Can you even handle that? My cat never lacks in my fantasies. When it's spicy hot body, ready for the evening. Don't feel like I could be with a gal and she can't dance.
Let's start it again. Don't stop, happy, don't stop, switch it up and don't stop, like a
You could be me and I could be you. Always the same and never the same. Day by day, life after life. Without my legs or my hair, without my jeans or my blood, with no name and with no type of story. Where do I live? Tell me, where do I exist? I was just a lonely girl in the eyes of my inner child. I could be anything I want, and no matter where I go, you'll always be here in my heart, here in my heart, here in my heart. I don't even have to explain, just leave me alone now. I can't be held down, I can't be
Let's plan on having concessions over there.
Mike is remodeling the old family drive-in movie theater.
Go find Gavin. Tell him the sound teams.
He'll need a new front-of-house cast and behind-the-scenes crew.
Can we talk staffing real quick? I'm thinking at least 6 per shift.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Unbeatable mileage from Chevron with Techron unlocks all kinds of unbeatable trips, like to family dinner the next town over, or to a family wedding the next town over, or even to a family reunion over the river and through the woods at Grandma's house. Any drive is worth it to see Grandma, especially when you can stop along the way for unbeatable cleaning power from Chevron with Techron. Your engine will be thanking you for making the trip. Download the Chevron app now and find unbeatable mileage near you.
There's a reason we've been name dropped in music over 11,683 times. For the last 120 years, Cadillac has made you move. From vinyl to 8-track, cassette to CD, and MP3 to live streams. If we were a music genre, we'd be all of them. We didn't start in the music business, but we're definitely part of it. We were iconic then, we're iconic now. If you want to hear the Cadillac of music, click this ad to check out our greatest hits playlist.
Just what you want. So don't leave me drowning. Don't let me down. Don't hold it back like that. Just pull me closer, baby. Oh, no. Let's make the most of this before it's over. Don't wanna waste a feel like we can make it real. Don't wanna wait who you could be. Moving me sense. Too busy reading minds. Already made it here. Don't overthink when you could be with me. Can we start it before this started? I could be giving someone all me, totally, totally. No, don't hold it down like I just lost one, baby.
Hey everyone, we're back. Oh, damn, sorry, I interrupted the song. Oh, I wasn't even by the song. I'm sorry, I missed all these messages. Oh, wow, I missed so many messages. Sorry, I'm like a little distracted trying to look at the messages. Yeah, so if the amount is $25, that's the exact amount. If it's not working, I'm not sure. Sometimes the Uber app be trying to like charge you, like and doesn't allow you to use the app. You might have to like either press help or like force close it and reopen it. But yeah, that's what that is. So I'm sorry about that, but that should definitely work if you force close it or like maybe press help. But sometimes like the Uber Eats whatever like application like messes up and tries to charge you because it actually tried to charge me, but my card was off. So, but it still went through. But anyways, welcome back everyone. If y'all have any questions, y'all can message me privately or not. You can message in the chat just in general. But welcome back everyone. We're gonna jump into our next segment, our last segment of the night. Agbo, did you want to take the lead on that again? I think you're already still co-host too.
Yes, but I don't need to share my screen for this. So this is going to be more of a like discussion based section. Just opening the floor for folks to just talk about just like the relation between racial justice and reproductive justice. I do have some guiding questions, but really I want y'all to take the discussion away with just like your experience, your input, your brilliance. And yeah, we'll really get into it. So let me actually open up my questions here. Okay, so just like a preface to this conversation around reproductive justice and racial justice. Alex and I were actually having this conversation, forever ago, just how there seems to be this, I don't know, urge or trend of anti-abortion advocates trying to make it seem that like Black people who support abortion are like against their race or something like that, or that there needs to be some sort of divide between the repro justice and racial justice movement, which as reproductive justice, Kanye, yeah, as reproductive justice advocates, we know that that's not necessarily the case, that at its very core, repro justice is racial justice. So I thought we would have a conversation about that tonight. To get us started, just as like a brief review, who can provide a definition of RJ or tell me the tenets of reproductive justice?
I can.
Take it away, Ukwama.
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad to have you in the space as always.
Glad to see your beautiful face, Agbo. Sorry, y'all. I was listening to a recording during break. Let's see. So reproductive justice as a framework was created at a conference in Cairo, Egypt in 1994. And the tenets are the four tenets are bodily autonomy, the right to have a child, the right to not have a child, and the right to parent children in safe and sustainable communities, and bodily autonomy. I don't know if I started with that. Sorry, y'all. It's been a long day, but yeah. And those four things were just to be really clear about how without access and without folks' material conditions being met, legislation as well as like care is pretty irrelevant because people won't even be able to get to it when they don't have the things they need to be able to. So, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we know those four basic tenets of RJ, and that reproductive justice is a movement and framework rooted in care. It's a movement and framework rooted in just like access to our basic needs. And I guess follow-up question, who, and you don't have to be specific, but who created this framework? Who founded this framework and movement for reproductive justice? And it's open to anyone.
It was 12 Black women. I don't know them by name. Loretta Ross is one of them.
That's fine. That's why I was like, you don't have to be specific.
I was gonna say I probably should, but I don't know them by name.
That is completely fine. So yes, 12 Black women came together and created and introduced this framework called reproductive justice. And I like deliberately say that, you know, just to suggest that this isn't a movement that was, you know, founded by, you know, white folks or, you know, white supremacists to destroy Black folks, right? This is a movement that was created by Black women. You know, folks, I guess, tend to conflate RJ with reproductive rights, and not to say that they have like a strong argument against reproductive rights as it pertains to race anyways. But, you know, with reproductive rights, that's more traditionally like a white-led, white-facing movement. And RJ is a intentional deviation from that to really center the voices of those who are, you know, the most marginalized and those who are impacted by just not having access to basic just needs the most. So yeah, and thanks Ukwama for dropping that link in the chat, Sister Song's definition of reproductive justice. So next question, I'm curious, what are some arguments folks have heard against abortion from, I guess, a quote unquote, what actually, before that, can anyone provide a definition of racial justice? It can be a personal definition, it can be like an official scholar, whatever definition, but what does racial justice mean to y'all?
I guess I would say racial justice is like liberation for people of color, especially Black people, and particularly those who are the descendants of slaves, but not excluding. But I think when I think of racial justice, I put Black people at the top just because I feel like, although white supremacy, I would say it's racial justice is dismantling white supremacy. Maybe that's the most succinct way to say it. And what I was gonna say earlier is like, although like all people of color are affected by white supremacy, and like imperialism is a big part of that. Actually, I won't go into oppression Olympics, but yeah, I just put Black people at like the top priority, like our liberation at the top for racial justice. Maybe that, I don't know if that makes sense. Sorry.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Some things that like came out like as keywords for me was like that fight for liberation, dismantling white supremacy, this notion that we should center Black folks in that framework, because you know anti-Blackness is global. Anti-Blackness is at like the root of a lot of just oppressions and prejudices. So yeah, anyone else, like when you think of racial justice, what comes up for you?
I can go. Something I've been thinking about lately is kind of the clash between the idea that obviously people shouldn't be like we shouldn't put one race above any other race, like the whole definition of racism, but also the idea of, oh, I don't see color is also problematic. So it's a way of, so I guess racial justice would be sort of neither one of those, but more just celebrating everybody's race and understanding their identity and like the cultural context in which we all exist together without necessarily without I mean that without being racist, for lack of a better word.
Heard. And Ayola, I see that you have your hand up.
Yeah, just I wanted to respond. When I think of racial justice, I think of economic reparations, because I think like, you know, race has only operated really like as a way to oppress people. And it's, you know, mostly of our oppression has come through economic oppression at this point. So that's where I would see justice, but I also see it as in supporting, you know, uplifting the culture, spirituality, politics, lifestyles of races outside of the dominant white heteronormative cis patriarchal hierarchy. So that is my idea of racial justice. It has to be like tangible action and monetary.
Heard. So that recognizing that economic piece and how and like please correct me if I'm like capturing this wrong, but like how capitalism is part of sort of like that white supremacist anti racial justice dynamic. And then Kyla, as you were saying, just like, you know, one, celebrating Blackness, celebrating different races, while also acknowledging that, you know, because folks are of different races, we do contend with different oppressions, and just saying that you don't see race is kind of ignoring that. So yeah, these are awesome answers. Anyone else before we move forward? Awesome, awesome. So I encourage everyone to great. I encourage everyone to just like hold on to this definition or your personal definition, any definition you've heard in the past, your understanding of racial justice as we just like talk tonight about RJ and well, reproductive justice and racial justice. I was like, they could both be RJ. Just lifting some definitions I found online. Racial justice is a vision and transformation of society to eliminate racial hierarchies and advance collective liberation, where Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders in particular have the dignity, resources, power, and self-determination to fully thrive. And I believe that one was from Race Forward. So they provided that definition of racial justice. I forgot to cite who did this particular definition, so apologies. But this site said, the systematic fair treatment of people of all races, resulting in equitable opportunities and outcomes for all. Racial justice goes beyond, quote, anti-racism. It is not just the absence of discrimination and inequities, but also the presence of deliberate systems and supports to achieve and sustain racial equity through proactive and preventative measures. So, you know, it's this notion, Ayola, I think you mentioned that it's like a process, that it's something that needs like to be actively done in order to achieve liberation. Do these definitions like resonate with folks? Or are these things where you're like, no, that's not something that like I consider racial justice? I'm seeing some thumbs up, some hearts.
They sure did, Nicole. They sure did.
Oh, Nicole put in the chat, speaking of reparations, I recently learned Japanese Americans received reparations and an apology for the internment camp experience. Sorry, I was like responding before I finished, but yes, I did hear about that as well. And I'm gonna hold my comments on that, but yeah, do these definitions of racial justice resonate with folks? Yeah, that basically was gonna be my like comments. Reparations is possible. And I believe in Canada, sorry, this is like definitely an aside, but I think Canada / the Catholic Church apologized to some Indigenous nations in Canada for basically like being shitty. I don't think the Catholic Church gave like the actual amount of reparations necessary, but they did provide like some kind of funds towards Indigenous groups. That is to say, it is possible, but also not saying like the Catholic Church, like taking them like, they're not off the hook. Like they still have like a long way to go to atone for that. So yeah, and if I can find an article, I'll post that in the chat as well. All right, so I'm hearing like, you know, these definitions of racial justice are resonating with folks. Awesome. So holding those definitions, holding your own personal understanding of what racial justice is, I'm curious, and then thinking about, you know, what we know about reproductive justice, you know, we're all reproductive justice advocates. What are some arguments, maybe as you were organizing, conversing with like friends, family members, or just on the internet? What are some arguments you've heard against abortion from, I guess, a quote unquote racial justice perspective? So that is to say, how do people say, or how do people argue that abortion shouldn't be accessible due to race? What are some arguments that come up for folks?
So there's a man that stands outside of Atlanta Women's Center, this white man. He says, more Black babies have been killed by abortion than by the KKK. Then he follows it up with, Did you know that, ma'am? Did you know that you are responsible for killing? And mind you, this is directed at like the Black folks that are walking into the clinic. So yeah, that's as a Black woman, I wasn't even getting an abortion at that time. I was supporting someone who was there for an appointment. Um, and so aside from that white man that stands outside the clinic weekly, I've heard from other like Black folks that that like we shouldn't be we shouldn't be advocating and like pushing for abortions because we're ending our race and we're like killing our people. And I just really just I just don't fucking understand it. Like I'm a mom, but I'm also an abortion haver. So I've been pregnant, and it doesn't matter. I've been pregnant quite a few times, and I've birthed some kids, and I've terminated some. And so yeah, the folks that believe that we need to be continue to populate the earth and the world instead of terminating. And yeah, it was a white man. It's this white man. And when I brought him up I was working at ARC. And so I was helping support someone who was going to the clinic. And when I brought up the person standing outside, somebody who works at ARC, they were like, was it the white guy who had the picture? It's like this kind of fake picture of sales, they just kind of found. Anywho, it's a fake picture. And so he's known. I don't remember his name because I didn't care to remember, but yeah, he is someone that consistently stands outside of that clinic.
Also adding to what Nangi says, the idea that like abortion is even like remotely linked to the killing of Black people is rooted in nothing but white supremacy, and kind of a laugh. And the idea that a white man would juxtapose anything to the Klan is also a laugh, and just completely like obliterates what actually does indeed kill Black people, which is usually the byproducts of whiteness and policing. But another one that is like maybe like inextricably linked to both like racial justice as well as like abortion access is the idea that like I saw a hotep, for lack of a better term. If you don't know what a hotep is, find someone Black and they'll explain it to you. A hotep standing outside of the 5 Points MARTA station saying that abortion is Planned Parenthood, or no, abortion is Planned Parenthood. And I just thought like, that is so fucking insane. And kind of like an ugly smear on our people, on Black people who have like, especially more specifically like Black women, Black trans women who have taken care of literally everyone. And abortion has been sometimes one of the few times that they are able to take care of themselves and prioritize themselves and what their body needs, even if they did or did not want to end a pregnancy, because there are several people end pregnancies who do not want to. It sure does, Agbo. And so I think sometimes it's hard to like get into the weeds of like how like Black men can be very anti-Black and how horrible it is.
Heard. Nicole, I see you have your hand raised.
Me or Elias? I think we both did.
Oh, Nicole, and then Elias, if you still want to say something, you can go after Nicole. I think Nicole, you had your hand up first.
Oh, okay. I got in an argument with my high school crush, who I'm so glad it didn't work out with him. But he was talking about, he was just saying like, one, his mom was told to get an abortion. So if she didn't choose life, he wouldn't be here. And then he also said that Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was racist or something. I can't remember exactly what they say she said, which I'm not denying it, but yeah, I don't remember what they said she said.
Basically, that Margaret Sanger is a eugenicist, which honestly isn't false. Margaret Sanger, for those who aren't familiar, I believe she was the founder of Planned Parenthood, and she pushed some eugenicist beliefs in order to, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess legitimize abortion as a viable option that folks should support. So again, not saying that that's not true. And also since then, we have a lot of just like Black leaders who support abortion. And then we all know and all familiar with just how abortion is helping Black communities. And also just having access in general to repro healthcare is helping folks.
I also think I read somewhere that abortion became a political issue in order to prevent like interracial marriage or something. I don't remember exactly. Or maybe it was affirmative action. It was some Black issue that like the Republican Party couldn't say out loud to get support around, so they used abortion instead to get more votes. Maybe I need to look for that article.
Yeah, I've heard that anti-abortion, particularly like within the Republican Party, are very disingenuous as far as like why they don't support abortion access, and it actually pertains to other, I guess, more nefarious reasons. But yeah, Elias, did you still have something you wanted to-
Oh, yeah, I can just, one thing that came to mind was there was a lot of issues that I had, obviously, with the Dobbs Supreme Court opinion that overturned Roe, but one of it was just a footnote where Justice Samuel Alito, who wrote the opinion, mentions, he's talking just kind of like very briefly about the potential kind of reasons behind why like quote unquote liberals support access to abortion. And in a footnote, he mentions that I have it pulled up right here, a highly disproportionate percentage of aborted fetuses are Black, somehow making the argument that, he was kind of supporting what people had been saying in amicus briefs. So briefs like that people submit to show their support of a certain issue or whatever. And it's kind of just like, he kind of mentions that offhand, or to somehow suggest again that abortion harms Black people or the Black population, that somehow the Supreme Court, the white supremacist like institution of the Supreme Court, is like somehow protecting people by by making abortion inaccessible.
Thank you for raising that, Elias. I actually, and maybe it's just because folks haven't talked about it, I did not know about that piece of the opinion.
Yeah, it's just one footnote. So it's like really short, but still, I think that like speaks volumes.
Just like a little racism at the bottom. Okay. And then I know a lot of us are like familiar with Justice Thomas's clear like implication as far as what overturning Roe could lead to. That's suggesting, same-sex marriage, birth control. Folks have also lifted interracial marriage. So yeah, I mean, it's not like, again, we always say abortion was never just like the stopping point, right? And these things are interconnected. Nandi, I see that your hand is raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because it just makes me so upset. I know y'all heard me say already that I'm a parent, but like as a Black parent, as a Black single parent, like the challenges that I've had, like raising my children, and the folks that are Black and like say the things that Elias just pointed out, it makes me, it makes me so upset. And then they get into this whole like, well, maybe you shouldn't be having sex. Like, first the fuck off. I'm fucking. You understand? Like, I'm watching these kids all day by myself. I'm fucking. You understand? Like, that's how I get some joy in my life. Like, that's how I get some pleasure in my life. And I'm also fertile. So if I happen to get pregnant, like it happens. And if I happen to not want to continue the pregnancy, I'm going to get an abortion. This whole like deep thought into like, well, like how Yukoma was saying about the hoteps and like how they get into their rights. They're very self-righteous thinking, and all the people who want to it just really disgusts me and disappoints me, because they're not the folks that are offering support when I'm like, and there are folks on this call that have known me prior to this call, but I've been out of work for a year. So there are folks that, who when I need support, when I'm like, hey, can you help me get my child to school, or can you help me get dinner for today, because I have to cook every meal for the kids. So can you help me get dinner for the kids, or can you watch them so I can just have a breather? You know what I'm saying? So these are not the folks that are offering support. These are the people that are like, well, you shouldn't have had the baby, and it's like, but you told me I shouldn't have a fucking abortion either. So which one is it? Where which one is it? Like, how are you helping? Because right now you're just complaining, and you're pissing me off. And so I had to say that, because it just bothers me like down to my core.
Thank you, and absolutely hear that. And I see you're getting like just some cosigns from folks as well. But yeah, this notion that folks will basically condemn you for any choice you make. And even if they feel like it's like the quote unquote wrong choice, they also won't offer support in any ways. And that's why, RJ is so important. Like, for whatever choice someone wants to make, we want to make sure they have the support they need, the access they need to the resources. So yeah, thank you for raising that. And I'm being mindful of time, and I did want to ask one more question. Because I want to end on like, I guess, a more positive note, but we've already started talking about it a bit, but I want to hear from folks. How do one or more of the tenets of reproductive justice relate to racial justice? So essentially, when you hear some of like these bullshit arguments over from anti-abortion advocates as they pertain to race, like when we look at reproductive justice, how do we see that access, abortion, what have you, is liberating for Black folks?
I know for me personally, like, I've done like a lot of research on adverse birth outcomes, and like, there's some evidence that it's associated with racism, and like, I have PCOS right now. I mean, it's incurable. So like, I personally want to be healed from certain trauma before I give birth. So I don't know. I feel like having access to abortion would allow me to like more bodily autonomy, if that makes sense, in like my own healing journey. And not just abortion, but like other forms of reproductive health care and stuff like that.
So again, it's that notion that like access to healthcare or like having bodily autonomy can help, a Black person have a safe pregnancy eventually when they want to, right? Yeah, would love to hear either more or from other folks. Oh, raising what Rihanna you put in the chat. RJ support is giving choice to choose how we operate in our own lives. Exactly. And that's how I sort of view it, as liberating, that choice piece, that we can determine how we live our lives. Anyone else?
If no one else has anything to add, I was just gonna say like for the folks that do choose to like to become a parent, like being able to like raise your children in like safe and sustainable like communities and spaces. Like when you think about where food deserts are located and like how that has an effect on like the health or can have an effect on like the health of your children, especially when it comes to, and then like environmental justice, how it all plays into like how it negatively impacts like the outcomes and what folks have access to or how they're impacted by natural disasters. I'm just thinking about like where people stay and like if they have to stay in like older homes that may not have been renovated and how their children can be affected by lead poisoning. And I recently bought hangers from Amazon and I found out that those had lead in them and I had to get both my children tested from for lead poisoning. But like if I didn't know like that, if I didn't get that information and have access to the doctor to like let them know like, hey, I need to get this test for my children, or if like I have a grocery store that's really close and like farmers markets, but other folks don't, and like their means to feeding their kids happens to be like maybe fast food multiple times a day, or only being able to eat when they're at school. So I'm just thinking about that specific tenet of RJ and how I am.
Absolutely. And I was going to put it in the chat, but decided to say it. And like just like a side note, as far as like environmental racism, Pakistan is literally underwater right now. So how, folks in that situation, how are we supposed to, raise safe, sustainable, or raise children rather in safe, sustainable communities? Anyone else? And I know we're on time, so would love to hear one more just thought from someone.
Well, I can drop a little thought and then roll into closing out too. But as a parent, I'm always thinking about the right to parent. And so as it pertains to racial justice, I was thinking about Saisha, whose child was medically kidnapped. And she had to fight with all her might to get her child back. But she was there and taking the precautions to be able to take care of her child. And then the system was ignoring her. And then, they took her babies. Like, that is gut wrenching. I can't fathom. But I wanted to thank everybody for attending tonight. I've got some asks for y'all after this super dope conversation. So coming up, we have a Saisha, ESHA. Coming up, we have a wheat pasting action, a direct action for our Fuck Fake Clinics campaign, which is for our crisis pregnancy campaign. So crisis pregnancy centers are basically fake clinics that usually lure in poor people, especially people of color, Black, brown, all the goodness. And they reel them in with free pregnancy tests, free ultrasounds. A lot of the times where ultrasounds are not being conducted by trained professionals. These people are being coerced out of an abortion if that's what they wanted to get, and all of the goodness. So we are working on a campaign. Well, Agbo, you're here. Are we inviting people to join the CPC campaign with us?
Yes, if you're interested in joining the campaign, please let me know. I can get you looped into the work group meetings. And as far as like the wheat pasting action, we'd love to have you too, but don't spread it around. We want to make sure that
Right, keep it here.
Yeah, we're only getting folks who are truly, for this action. So yeah.
So thank you, Agbo. If you're interested in getting involved in the work group, you can email me or Agbo. And then lastly, we have coming up on September 20th in abortion plug training, Black Feminist Future will be leading this abortion plug training to be able to help folks out navigating this abortion ban. This training is for people who identify as Black only. And so if you are interested, it is free, $99. So if you'd like to get involved, there's the link for that for you to register. Yeah. Yeah, any questions, y'all? And then I will be following up with you all. I'd like to have some one-on-ones with y'all. I don't know everybody in this meeting today, so I'd like to get to know you a little bit better and figure out how to plug you in as best as possible. So thanks, y'all. Have a good night. I'm not going to end the call just yet because I see some conversations happening in the chat. But toodaloo, adios. It was great having y'all. I hope your food was yummy.
Thanks, y'all.
Word. All right. Bye, y'all.